Hello, Designer Redders. It's me, Donna. I'm coming at you. I'm a little under the weather. I've got some kind of virus, but I just been led to tell this, and so I jumped up and put me a shirt on and no makeup or anything. So here I am. Well, this is about a car wreck I had, and I had it on October the 18th. It was on a Friday. And let me give you a little background. Some years ago, I started having this um, stuff that like a pressure in my head. I'm trying to remember something, but I get stuck and I'm just staring like this. I cannot talk or anything, but it would happen to me sometimes while I'm a hairstylist, retired, and it would happen to me sometimes when I was doing hair. I could kind of keep doing what I was doing, but I'd still, if somebody said something to me, it was just like a blank stare. I couldn't say anything. So I always thought that that was a panic attack or an anxiety or a panic attack. So I just dismissed it, and for years I've had those. Sometimes a couple months go by, I don't have one. Sometimes I might have two or three a month. But I have been out with a friend and they're asking me questions. I've been out with my daughter and they're looking at me and I'm just like this. So, but I always thought it was, a panic attack. So finally, about 6 months ago, I had a doctor's appointment and I told the doctor about it. But how I explained it was I get a thought like I'm trying to remember something and I get all this pressure and I'm stuck and I can't talk. And he said, well, you've been having those for years, haven't you? Like you said. So what makes you think now that it's not a panic attack? I said, I don't know. That's why I'm, asking about it. And he just kind of dismissed it. So I went on, and fast forward to October the 18th. I was sitting here at home, decided to go to the store and get some groceries. Well, the store is not even like a mile from my house. I'm not good with distances, but you go up the street, down the street, and over a little bit, and that's where the store is. Well, you can also get there by just going straight up the street and turning left, and then you right in front of the store. So I don't know if that if that really explains it or not, but um, so I went to the store. Everything's fine. My mom calls me while I'm in the store, and I talk to her. I check out, get in the car, and as I'm pulling out, I start having one of those feelings. And what I can explain to you now, it's like I get deja vu. Or like when you have had a dream and you're trying to remember the dream and it's disappearing while you're trying to remember it. That's kind of, but I'm going to say deja vu. And I had the pressure and the tingling in my head. And of course, I'm like this, but I'm still able to do like always. I'm able to do what I'm doing. So I don't have far to go home. So I didn't pull over. Big mistake. And so I went on trying to go home. Well, I noticed I'm still having this episode, and I noticed that I have passed my turn. So I'm looking like this. I see a couple of buildings, and that was it. Well, the next thing I know, I found myself on the steering wheel, and I raise up off the steering wheel, and I feel like I have been laying on a pillow. And I remember looking down at the floor. There was glass everywhere. The windshield was shattered. And I saw my keys. And so I picked my keys up, which it was my house keys. My car key was still in the ignition, but the car wasn't running. And so I picked that up. My purse was in the seat. I had enough to get my purse, got out of the car, and went around the car and stood there and just looked because I didn't know where, I was very disoriented. Didn't recognize the car or anything. I happened to look over and see the spoiler. And on my spoiler, it has like the wrap that's on the paint. It was peeling a little bit. And for some reason, that brought into me, this is your car. And so by that time, a man was running around the corner and he looked at me and he stopped. And then the ambulance was there, and the paramedic was leading me to the ambulance. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? And so they took me in the ambulance. I sat there, and then the sheriff was there because I live outside the city limits. So it was the sheriff. And he was like, right in my face. And he was asking me for my driver's license and where was my insurance in the glove compartment. And I said, yes. And first I had to think, where's my driver's license? Because I'm still kind of disoriented. And so I found my driver's license, and he got my insurance and stuff like that. But he's still talking to me, and he's like, right here. Well, later I realized he was probably trying to see if I had alcohol on my breath, if I had been drinking. And so, of course, I had not. And so they took me to the hospital. My daughter came to the hospital. The emergency room was packed, so I had to wait for a room. And I was sitting in the wheelchair. And then I ended up having an MRI, CT scan, and I think you call it a CT scan. And they said everything looked fine, but I was in the hospital for about 6 or 7 hours. And so I was like telling them, basically I was ready to go home, what. And so I end up coming home, I was fine, and still kind of shook, But anyway, let me get back to when I raised up off the steering wheel. I was in front of a brick wall. I had hit the brick wall. You could see where the brick wall was kind of dented in. It was the side of a brick building. And the stop where when you're getting ready to park and it has that concrete long thing in the front. Well, I was behind that instead of being over it where the brick wall was. So I must have bounced back. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, I did not know. My daughter was like, Mama, you could have veered off to the right and went into the highway traffic. And so I was like, yeah. So a few days later, of course, I was thankful because I could have been dead. And I had a little anxiety about it for a few days and stuff, and I was just just shook. But the only thing that I had wrong was I had a bruise inside of my right breast from where the seatbelt had, and I was a little sore right here in my chest, and they said that was from the seatbelt. That's all I had. And I thank God, because if you would have saw the wall and all this, and the front of my car was like in half, the bumper and everything was laying down and stuff. But my daughter took me back on the route that I had went, a few days later, and the road merges to the left. How I stayed on the road without veering over. And so that was God. And there was a roundabout, and the roundabout is up on there's a curb. So I had to have went over top of the roundabout. There was a sign laying down, so I must have hit the sign. Going across the street, down a hill, back up the hill, and to the right, there was a big dumpster. Could have hit that. Then straight forward to the brick building. And the thing about it is, I could have hit, that could have been, I could have hit someone, or like I said, I could have been very badly injured or dead or through the windshield or anything. So I know all praises and glory goes to God, because I know that's what it was. And so that's what it was. That's how I made it through this car wreck. But the route that I took and how it happened, it was just very surreal. Because if you saw, well, how did I end up over there? It just was it was very surreal, and I still think about it and ask, let the Lord know how thankful I am that. And my mom was shook because she's like, I just talked to you in the store, and then they called and told me you were in the hospital, that you had had a car wreck. And so she said, but I had just talked to you. And so she was shook too, and she has a heart condition. So I was praying for her that she get through it. But what I wanted to say was, every night I pray, I ask God to surround me with his angels. Let no hurt, harm, or danger, or evil come near. And I pray this prayer for my entire family. I pray this prayer for my subscribers and my viewers. And then I go on with the prayer. But I know it was God's angels. They guided that car and guided me through, and the Lord was with me. And I praise him, like I said, and give him all the glory. And I want to tell you that your prayers matter and that God is with you. And even no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're doing in your life, nothing, absolutely positively nothing, can separate you from the love of God. And I want you to know that, and honestly, just think about that. Nothing, he's with you. And he was with me that day, because this could have been a very different outcome. And so, like I said, give God all the praise and all the glory. But that's my story, and that's how I made it through this accident. It was the glory of God. And I just thank you for giving me the time to listen. I've been led to tell this, and I was sitting here, like I said, I'm sick. That's why I haven't put out any videos, some type of virus. And I had just took some medicine, so I'm kind of clear now. And I was sitting there, and I said, let me if I thought about putting on makeup and stuff, I wouldn't have done it. So I was like, well, they're going to have to see me sometimes without makeup on. So, but like I said, and I want you to know that you are in my prayers. I hope that I'm in yours. And God bless you. God loves you. God's with you. And have a blessed, blessed day. Bye-bye.